Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Perth East Council, this 16th day of June. I'd like to call our meeting to order. If everyone could please bow their head for a moment of reflection. Thank you. We have a motion to confirm the agenda. That the agenda as prepared for the June 16, 2026 meeting of Council of the Township of Perth East be approved as received. Moved by Amanda, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, if you have pecuniary interest, you can disclose that now or as the meeting moves along. We have 10 items under our consent agenda. Is there any item anyone would like pulled or have questions on? Seeing nothing, we have motion that items 5.1.1 to 5.1.10 as set out in the consent agenda for the June 16, 2026 regular meeting of council be received for information, and that the minutes of June 2nd, 2026 regular council meeting be adopted. Moved by Andrews, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we have no presentations. No public presentations, other presentations or delegations. We have no public meetings, no public hearings. So we're going to move right down to our planning and development reports. And we have Aubrey with us tonight. So welcome, Aubrey, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Agates. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. The consent application B11-26 was submitted by James M. Burns of Monteith Ritzma Phillips Professional Corporation on behalf of Gronestej Dairy Farms Limited for the property at 4171 Line 52. The consent application intends to sever a lot with an area of approximately 0.88 hectares, or roughly 2.2 acres, occupied with a single detached dwelling, 2 accessory structures, and 1 former livestock barn that will be removed. The retained lands are vacant and will remain in agricultural production. The subject lands are designated agriculture with a provincially significant wetland and natural heritage features overlay in the Perth County Official Plan. The subject lands are zoned Agricultural Zone and Natural Resources Environment Zone 1 with an adjacent lands overlay. Prime agricultural areas and natural heritage features shall be designated and protected for long-term use. Lot creation in prime agricultural areas is discouraged and is only permitted in accordance with the provincial guidance for a residence surplus to an agricultural operation. The surplus residential dwelling will require a rezoning of the severed lands to conform to the zoning bylaw. The retained lands will also require a rezoning to prohibit any new permanent residential dwellings. Both are requirements as conditions of the report. Planning staff are satisfied that the subject application meets the requirements of the provincial planning statement and the Perth County Official Plan for the following reasons. The proposed residential lot is limited in size and minimizes the removal of prime agricultural lands. The applicants have 2 farm properties, both containing a habitable dwelling. The subject lands to be severed contain a residence that is habitable and meets the 10-year minimum requirement. There is no previous separation of subject lands for residential purposes. The MDS1 setback requirements have been satisfied between the farm dwelling on the severed parcel. The MDS requirements are not required. The proposed development does not negatively impact protected waterways, natural features, or biodiversity. And planning staff have included conditions to the application to remain consistent with the provincial planning statement and conform to the Perth County Official Plan. There was 1 public agency comment received from the Grand River Authority after this report was submitted with no objections to the proposed consent application, and public notice was provided to the neighboring property owners on May 27th, 2026. 1 concern was received regarding a propane tank which was situated along the property line and a shed that encroaches on the neighboring property to the east. The applicant has indicated that they will be removing the propane tank from the property line and they will remove the encroaching garage. Planning staff are supportive of the proposed severance, subject to the conditions of consent approval being fulfilled, and therefore approval of the consent is recommended. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Aubrey. We also have a representative on the screen from Monteith Ritzma and Phillips lawyer if council has questions. So are there any questions at this time from council members? Nope, seeing no questions. Okay, we do have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East advise the Land Division Committee or its delegated authority that the Township of Perth East supports application D 11-2026 submitted on behalf of Gurner Stage Dairy Farms Limited for lands described as West Part Lot 5, Concession 14, Ellis Ward, Township of Perth East, municipally known as 4171 Line 52, subject to the following conditions. And Perth East has 6 conditions, and I'll give you the short form. Number 1 is a letter be provided by the clerk of the township advising the secretary treasurer of the land division committee that all requirements of the township, financial services and otherwise have been compiled with. Number 2, confirmation be received by the township that the apportioned schedule for municipal drains in this area be reviewed and updated. Number 3, confirmation be received by the township that an amendment to the township implementing zoning bylaw has been adopted to zone the proposed severed lot to permit only a dwelling and accessory uses, buildings and structures, and to zone the retained lot to prohibit any new permanent residential dwellings. The 4th, confirmation that the severed and retained lots have been assigned separate municipal addresses and signs. Number 5, confirmation that the road access to the severed and retained parcels are to the satisfaction of the township. And number 6, confirmation be received that the existing livestock barn on the subject property has been removed. In the County of Perth, they have 3 conditions. Number 1, that a letter be received from the solicitor that the certificate of the official will be scanned and attached to electronic registration of the transfer. The second one, the Land Division Committee be provided with a description that is consistent with the application and equal to that required for registration of the deed/transfer. And the third one is that confirmation be received the property owner has entered into an agreement with the County of Perth to prohibit any new permanent residential dwellings on the retained farm lot. Moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. Questions? Bob?
Yeah, just the new information that came regarding the propane tank and shed that wasn't like the same as in our report. Does that have to be included as conditions, or is that worked out through another process?
Through you, Mayor Eggets, you can't actually condition the removal of the structure that was of concern, that was encroaching. So no, it is not added as a condition.
Okay, go ahead.
Wait. So how do we make sure that that happens and that this doesn't, like other instances, become
Through Mayor Eggets, it is a property dispute matter to be addressed by the property owners. So it is my understanding that both parties have been in contact with their lawyers to resolve the issue.
Okay, Amanda?
Just a comment, I did speak that Dan called me on this, and so he doesn't want any issues, and so I have every confidence it will be dealt with. So just he wanted to reach out to me because he wanted to know if he needed to come because he didn't want there to be any issues, but I just wanted to let you know that we did have a conversation about it.
Okay. Any more questions? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thanks, Aubrey. Okay, we're going to our next plan report, and we have Jeff with us tonight. And it's on a consent application by Mackenzie Kauflash on behalf of Joanne and Ralph Gerber. So Jeff, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. So the property is located on the southwest corner of the intersection of Andrew Street and Byron Street and is municipally known as 2173 Andrew Street. Subject lands are designated as neighborhood, and the lands to be severed and are located within the settlement area boundary. The lands to be retained will continue to be used for a single detached dwelling. Applicant is proposing that the lands to be severed will be developed with semi-detached dwellings. A zone change or a minor variance application would be required to reduce the minimum lot area if a semi-detached dwelling is proposed in the future. The lot severances will result in buildable lots that meet the minimum zoning bylaw requirements for single detached dwellings. The applicant is aware that municipal services will need to be extended to service the lands to be severed. Condition number 5 has been included with both recommendations to require that the lands to be severed will connect to municipal services. Public Works have confirmed that sufficient servicing capacity is available to accommodate the proposed semi-detached dwellings. Subject lands include buildings located over proposed lot lines. and accessory buildings need to be removed, relocated, or a minor variance approval is needed to conform with the zoning bylaw. Condition number 7 is included to require the removal of relocation or approval of minor variance for each of those accessory structures. CN Railway has also expressed concerns with the intensification of residential land that is within 300 meters of the railway. The applicant is advised that CN Railway is requesting a warning clause to be inserted into their agreements of purchase and sale or lease for each of the proposed building lots. And condition number 8 has been included to provide for an environmental easement for operational noise and vibration emissions. The lot severances will result in buildable lots that meet the minimum zoning bylaw lot requirements for a location that represents good use of underutilized lands. Lands have frontage on a public street. Proposed lots meet all the other zoning bylaw requirements. Proposed lot fabric represents lot sizes that are consistent with lots in the immediate area and are supportable by the official plan policies. Planning staff are supportive of the proposed severance, subject to the recommended conditions of consent approval being fulfilled. And Bill can answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Questions of the report? Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor Higgins. So item number 3, it talks about drainage appointment if necessary. It's just seems like more of a agricultural thing, as I recall. Is that something that is normally done, or?
Sorry, I'm through the mayor. Could you repeat item number?
Perth East condition 3 on page.
So it's
46.
for the municipal drains?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been including that in each of the consent applications. Being that it's within the settlement area, Jake can confirm, but I believe we could probably eliminate that condition.
Through the mayor, there's actually municipal drains directly adjacent to this property in Shakespeare, yes. So it's probably necessary to be there as a condition.
Thank you. And for item number 5, so what do we have? Stormwater, sanitary, and water needs to be extended. Was there ever any discussion about communal or private service for those lots?
Through the mayor, so we have had discussions about private services. Our official plan does not support private services for the creation of new lots. So the applicant was made aware of that, and they're prepared to extend those services out for the lots that are going to be severed. We encourage the applicant to connect the existing retained lot, existing residential lot, to municipal services, since they will be providing a service directly in front of that property, but they're not under an obligation to connect to that municipal service if they choose to keep their private service on the retained lot.
And one final one, if we go down to P47, and I apologize, this may be a little technical with the paperwork in front of you. So you have the area, the proposal dimensions, the area, frontage, and depth. You said in your preamble, planner Bannon, that there's 2 of them, maybe all 3 of the lots. One was going to, the existing house was going to stay, and the other 2 are going to be semis possibly. So what are the dimensions for a semi? Do we know that offhand, or just give me an idea?
Through the mayor, I can quickly pull up the dimensions for a semi. So the lots conform with the requirements for a single detached dwelling, but they are undersized for the lot area of a semi. So each unit for a semi-detached dwelling on an interior lot has a lot area requirement of 325 square meters.
Sorry, that's for a semi.
That's for a semi.
So each
One
unit
is
of
325. So you double that, you're up to 650 square meters. The lots that are being proposed are 540 square meters. So they still meet the requirement for a single detached dwelling, so they can build on those lots singles as is with the residential second density zone. But they wouldn't be able to build semi-detached dwellings. If they decided that they wanted to build semi-detached dwellings, which is their preference, and I think that is their intent, then they'll need a minor variance to reduce that lot area for those semi-detached dwellings.
and the frontage number, probably the same thing. slightly smaller than required.
Yeah, for interior lot, for a semi-detached dwelling, the requirement is 9 meters. So that gives you a total of 18 meters. And I believe they're showing, yes, 19 meters. So they meet the lot frontage requirements for the singles, there's for the semi-detached dwellings on interior lots.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, other questions? Seeing none, we're going to split up the motions. The first motion, we're just going to receive the report for information so that the Township of Perth East Council receives application files B13-26 and B14-26 submitted by Mackenzie Kauflesh for lands described as Lot 228 and 229, Plan 331, Southeast Hope Board, Township of Perth East, 2173 Andrew Street for information. Moved by Amanda, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. Okay, excuse me. And then this motion is for the Township of Perth East Council advise the Land Division Committee or its delegated authority that the Township of Perth East supports application files B13-26 and B14-26 submitted by Mackenzie Kauflesh for lands described as Lot 228 and 229, Plan 331, Southeast Hope Ward, Township of Perth East, 2173 Andrew Street, subject to the following conditions. And the first conditions are from Perth East, and there are 8 of them. Try to give you the condensed form. Number 1, letter be provided by the clerk of the township advising the secretary treasurer of the Land Division Committee that all requirements of the township, financial and services and otherwise have been complied with. Number 2, the owners provide cash in lieu of parkland to the satisfaction of the township. 3, confirmation be received from the township that apportionment schedule for municipal drains in the area are reviewed and updated. Number 4, confirmation from the township that the severed and retained lots have each been assigned separate municipal addresses and signs. Number 5, the owner enter into development agreement with the Township of Perth East and the terms of the agreement be satisfactory to the township, including but not limited to A, provisions for the extension and connection to municipal water services, sanitary and storm sewage system. B, financial securities and requirements for connection to municipal water and sanitary. And C, a requirement to obtain a permit for driveway entrances. Number 6 condition, confirmation be received from the township that the road access to the severed and retained parcels are to their satisfaction. Number 7, confirmation be received by the township that the accessory buildings on the subject lands have been removed or altered to conform with the zoning bylaw, or the applicant has obtained a minor variance to recognize any zoning deficiency. And number 8, confirmation be received by the township that an environmental easement for operational noise and vibration emissions have been granted to CN Railway and registered against the subject property. The County of Perth has 2 conditions. Number 1, the confirmation be received from a solicitor that the certificate of the official will be scanned and attached to the electronic registration of the transfer. And the second, the Land Division Committee be provided with a description that is consistent with the application and equal to that required for registration of the deed/transfer. Okay, we need a motion to do all that. Moved by Bob, second by Amanda. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and then we have that the Township of Perth East Council advise the Land Division Committee or its delegated authority that the Township of Perth East supports application file B14-26 submitted by Mackenzie Kauflesh for lands described as 228 and 229, Plan 331, Southeast Hope Ward, Township of Perth East, 2173 Andrew Street, subject to the following conditions. The conditions are the same? So the conditions are all the same as the last one, so I'm not going to read them all. So moved by Jerry, second by Hugh. Any questions? All those in favor? Carry. Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going now to move on to our CAO, and we have a development charge reduction program. Mike, it's yours.
Thanks, Mayor. It's, yep, this report was supported by our treasurer as well. We've took a look at the development charge reduction program, and based on the parameters and the, at the focus of the program and the idea that we would be subsidizing 10% of our existing DCs, we are, from a staff perspective, are not suggesting that we proceed with an application. Certainly, the focus remains on building housing, and when we've had applications tonight, we think we still have quite an active municipality as it relates to housing. Our development charges are not an impediment, in my opinion. We have the lowest development charges in the area. So beyond the fact that I think the likelihood of our success of an application is probably closer to 0 than any other percent, I don't think it's worth the time and effort from a staff perspective. So I'll try to answer any questions.
Okay, questions of the report? And we have a motion that council of the Township of Perth East receive the report prepared by the Chief Administrative Officer dated June 16, 2026, entitled Development Charge Reduction Program, DCRP, CAO-2026-04 for information. Moved by Andrew, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Mike. Okay, we have no reports from the clerk, nothing from finance. Public Works, we have the 2026 Drinking Water Quality Management Standard. Jake, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mayor Agates. The report tonight covers the annual management review meeting. That's a requirement under the DWQMS. We had a meeting June 3rd. Mike, myself, and the water operations staff. We did kind of a review of 2025. We kind of looked at the MECP inspections from last year, EWQI's risk assessment, audits, emergency response training, among other topics. The meeting minutes are attached as attachment 1 to the report, and that's page 74 on the agenda. Of note, we had one regulatory non-compliance, which was associated with well 4 in Milverton. Although we had not been using it in 2025, MECP stated it was not in compliance with the well regulation and mandated it be decommissioned. So decommissioning occurred in April of this year, and the MECP is satisfied there. We had a couple of adverse water quality incidents, or AWQIs, in Milverton. There were 2, and 2 in Shakespeare, but all were rectified to the satisfaction of the MECP and health unit. In terms of data trending, there was no unusual trends observed through 2025. Ultimately, we are lucky to have the groundwater sources we have in Shakespeare and Milverton. I have attached the historical consumption for the past 15 years. It is shown in attachment 3 or page 236 of the agenda for council's reference. And lastly, the operational plan has been attached. It's been recently updated. And continually is updated. That is attached as attachment number 2 to the agenda, and is likely the reason why the package is so long tonight. So my apologies there. And yeah, that is available on our website too, if anybody wants to reference it at any time. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Jake. What questions of the report, Hugh?
In Milverton, leaving unit 4, you said that the alarm went off, but it didn't go out. Is like, you guys see pagers or cell phones, or like, why didn't it go? Like, why didn't somebody get it?
Through the mayor, we have a SCADA system that has a dialer that calls our operators' cell phones. That alarm was not transmitted. We had an issue with the computers talking to the operators, so to speak. So it was not transmitted, and that was the issue. Obviously, we had our programmer rectify that immediately. So hopefully it was a one-off, and we've done what we can review the rest of the programming around the transmission of alarms. So I think we're in a good place.
Is, what would be the difference, like we talked about water licenses, one, two, what upgrade would you need for, like, number two license or whatever?
So through the mayor's, is that in reference to a classification or like an operator license?
Maybe so. So we were showing the employees.
Okay.
But everybody else knows they do, but, number two license.
I've got a class one. It comes down to training time for the majority. So you do, it's a process. You start with an operator and training certificate. After a year of service and appropriate training, you can get a class one with an exam passed. And then the same process continues to go on, but things get tougher. You do have to have an operator that is licensed or certified that matches the class of the facility. So that's the key there. So we do have to have a class two operator for our systems because our systems are class two facilities.
And we have I'm not keeping looking at papers now, but public services. You don't have to repeat them.
Mostly. Yeah, we're in a good place and continuing to try to make more redundancy with staffing there.
Okay, other questions? Seeing none, then we do have a motion that Council of the Township Perth East receive the report prepared by the Manager of Public Works dated June 16, 2026, entitled 2026 Drinking Water Quality Management Standard, DWQMS Management Review, PUB-2026-15 for information, and further that Council receive the attached 2026 Management Review meeting minutes dated June 3rd, 2026, in the Township of Perth East Drinking Water Systems Operational Plan dated June 3rd, 2026 for information. Moved by Bob, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Jake. Okay, we have no reports under building and bylaw enforcement. Under Parks and Recreation, we have the Hydro One Community Partnership Grant. Becky, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mayor Rhonda. Before you use report regarding Hydro One having a funding availability of $25,000, we are looking at getting council's approval to apply for the replacement of our generator at the PERC for the main reason of strengthening our emergency preparedness. The current generator does not have an automatic turnover, so we have to manually go out and flip it in the dead of winter and so forth. And also it does not provide enough power to run the entire building if we were needed to do so, which is important in the event of emergency. So in 2023, I did get a replacement cost of $102,000. At the time of writing this report, I didn't have a current one. It hadn't been submitted yet. So just looking for direction from council.
Okay, thank you. Questions of the report? Hugh?
The generator you have there now, is it in good enough shape that it can use ourselves?
It could be, yes. It is nearing the end of its life. But if it were something to take to, say, Shakespeare Hall, for example, it could probably meet the needs there because that facility too isn't going as often, so the chances of needing it would be less too. So there is that option.
Okay, other questions? Jerry?
Thanks, through you, Mayor. Looks like, well, if it's a little over 100,000, this would be a quarter of the cost. Would Emergency Management Ontario or Emergency Preparedness have other grants, perhaps, possibly, that could be looked into? I know you look for grants when they're available, but just another spot to get a grant to pick up some of the other remainder in case.
Yes, Mike would like to answer that question.
Mike wouldn't, historically, there used to be a fund, they called it JEP, Bill probably remembers this, that was very, very specifically geared towards generators and evacuation centers. That has gone away. There has been some recent funding related to emergency management, but nothing that was geared kind of specifically as it relates to generators piece. We saw this as an opportunity. And yeah, I can understand, 25,000 of probably 130,000 project isn't great, but yeah, we haven't seen recently anything that would be geared specifically to generators, so that's why we brought this forward.
Okay, other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report prepared by the Manager of Parks, Recreation and Community Services dated June 16, 2026, entitled Hydro One Community Partnership Grant, PRCS-2026-11 for information, and that council directs staff to proceed with Hydro One Community Partnership Grant application for a replacement generator for the Perth East Recreation Complex. Moved by Hugh, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Becky. Okay, and we have no reports from fire. Now we move to correspondence. First one is from Kevin Dreer, a resident of Nithberg, and he requests to review the dog policy for hunting dogs on private property. Also, Bob.
So this came to me and I suggested he write a letter to council, and this is something I'm sure others hear about the dog limit. First time I've heard this. I would just prefer that it would be sent to staff and they could the other municipalities on what they've done. Sure that in a certain time the puppy mills were maybe was instigated with 2-dog limit. If we're not over that, but if we could at least have a look at it and give some feedback, I would support about that. So there's obviously more to the story about this situation. I'm sure staff can find that out through bylaw. It's a good part of probably their whole life and well known, as he said, in the community for what it does. So it is a valuable service that happens in the countryside. I think it's worth investigating.
Okay, so are you moving that you send it to staff? Okay. Do we have a seconder? Hugh? Do I need to read that? Questions, Hugh?
Just a question. He mentioned that in the bylaw that we do allow somebody to have more than 2 hunting dogs or something. Just could we get a clarification on that when they're during the
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so we have a motion moved by Bob, second by Hugh, that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the correspondence from Kevin Dreer, resident of Nithberg, requesting council to review the number of hunting dogs allowed on property for information, and that council direct staff to prepare a follow-up report investigating neighboring municipalities, kennel licensing, and clarification on Perth East bylaw. Good? Yep. Okay. Any more questions on that? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and our second item of correspondence is from Scott Campbell. He's chair of the East Hope Historical Group, and they're requesting to initiate discussions about Brockton County School Museum transfer. I think according to the letter, they had it, we got it, now they'd like it back, which anyway. What does council wish us to do with this? Send it to staff for a report? Is that kind of what, Bob?
Love to see this go to staff. Over the years, Hugh, I'm sure that there were numerous discussions about who owned it. And at one point they thought we owned it and they were gonna hand it over to us and tried to give it to the museum in Stratford and so on and so forth. So if they wanted to take charge of it, that would be awesome.
Okay,
I think they have a reinvigorated group that are doing extremely well with the homeschooling visits. So it's, I'm going to say thriving based on the things that they're doing. And I think you and I were both at their anniversary last summer, and it was quite well done. So they're doing well.
okay, good. So then we have a motion that Council of the Township of Perth East receive the correspondence from Scott Campbell, Chairman of the East Hope Historical Group, Inc., regarding a request to begin discussions with the Township of Perth East and the transfer of ownership of the Broxton County Country School Museum property back to the organization for information, and that council direct staff to converse with the East Hope Historical Group, Inc. regarding the transfer of ownership, and further that council direct staff to prepare a follow-up report for council following discussions with the East Hope Historical Group. Okay, mover and a seconder, moved by Hugh, second by Bob. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Under council and committee reports, my mayor's meeting log came last meeting. We don't have one for today. Are there any reports anybody has on any of the committees or the boards they sit on? Nope. Okay. Then we're down to bylaws. First, second, third, and final reading, and we have bylaw 115-2026, and it's a bylaw to collect for financial maintenance consolidated. And I think that's to do with all the tile loans that we have, correct? Nope, sorry, I misspoke.
That's okay. No, not tile loans, but just municipal drain maintenance.
Right, sorry.
That's good.
Okay, so we need a mover and a seconder for that to be read first, second, third, and final reading. Moved by Hugh, second by Andrew. All in favor? Carried. Okay, do we have any notice of motions? Any other business? Any announcements? We do not have a closed session, so we are to confirmatory bylaw. And the says that bylaw 29-2026, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Township of Perth East at its regular meeting held on June 16, 2026, be read a first, second, and third time. Moved by Jeremy, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. And the last motion of the evening is that we adjourn at council be adjourned at 7:38 p.m. Moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night. Bye.